Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now is one of the most popular books in spirituality and probably in non-fiction of the last few decades, right? It really resonated with a lot of people on a deep level. The power of just being in the moment, the power of transcending your ego and living with a greater sense of presence. It's become so popular that being in the now and being present are really platitudes and cliches of living a fulfilling life. But of course, there is a balance to be found. And anyone trying to pursue presence, trying to live in the moment, will come across at some point the conundrum between being present and living in the now and planning ahead. These two things don't seem compatible. If you're in the now, and if the now is all there is, why plan? Can't you just trust that by being in the moment, everything will work out? I've had so much trial and error with this. I'm someone that loves to plan and organize. I get a lot of joy from structuring my time, visualizing what I would like to do with my life, and having a North Star to move towards. None of this has to be sacrificed or replaced by being present. The illusion is that when we're present to the now, we're present with all of the experiences and all of the phenomena in that very moment, right here, right now. And that includes the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, your immediate environment, the environment of your body in that moment. The issue is that most of us unconsciously and without realizing attach to thoughts of the past and the future. It's a form of autopilot where we kind of escape what is right in front of us. Now, one way of doing that is to plan. A few years ago, after I went to a Vipassana retreat, I wrote an article on the phantom planner. I used that terminology to describe the part of my brain, the part of my consciousness, that no matter where I was in the present, it would just start to plan. And it became apparent to a kind of hilarious degree when I realized that in my morning meditation, I was planning the precise way that I would chop the banana to put on my porridge, right? And that was like this kind of cosmic joke towards my mind's tendency to run itself, to plan autonomously, even when I'm not consciously putting attention there. This unconscious, incessant planning is something that we would like to avoid, because that creates this kind of conveyor belt sensation going from one thing to the next, and it's not really deliberate or purposeful. If you contrast that to the times in your life where you sit down, you put time aside to visualize and plan. Now we're in January, so I'm sure this is something that a lot of people are doing right now as well. You will find that it's a really different experience where you direct your attention and you set intentions to live life in a certain way. The great paradox of this conundrum is that the more present you are to that moment, to this moment, the more likely you're able to find clarity in terms of what that visualization is. The more empowered you feel in the moment, the more empowered your visualization. Now that will lead you into a sense of greater alignment. But whilst the now is all there is, we can't really avoid that there seems to be some kind of encoded past, present and future in reality. And I don't mean that in terms of psychological time where we have memory and imagination of the future. But a good example is, for example, a seed or an acorn that grows into a tree. There's an element of future encoded in that. There's the structure, the DNA of what will flourish. And we can see this the same in terms of the way that we plan for the future. Your truest, highest potential is encoded within you. And the more present you are, the more you can capture this and manifest it in your reality, bring it forwards, grow into the tree that you're here to be, right? For want of a better metaphor. So there's a balance to be found. There's a way of getting out of your own way to be present, but to experience what happens when you are. For me, the times when I'm most present are often the most creative. I do have to balance the tenacity of my thoughts and creative thoughts to bring myself back. But when I'm really aligned, when I feel really inspired, that's when I get a lot of creative ideas. And a lot of those creative ideas are based in some semblance of the future. There's a sense of, I feel really fulfilled right now, but this feeling that I have can allow me to flourish even more as I develop and as I grow. So my personal sense of finding resolution with this conundrum is to just plan consciously, to plan and visualize from a really grounded and vibrant sense of presence, compared to just allowing the mind to create its own conjecture, to jump ahead, to have fearful images of the future. And if we are able to be more present, then we're able to plan and visualize in a way that feels rewarding and nourishing. There is a sense of spiritual bypassing around the idea of never having to plan. You know, if you're going to meet someone for coffee, you have to plan a time. To live in the complex world that we do exist in, we have to have some form of structure in. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. It is necessary, but like all tools, and time and calendars are just tools ultimately, we have to find the right place for them. If we become obsessed and put all of our attention there, then we're probably going to feel really stressed and really overwhelmed and really rushed, and life will feel like one giant to-do list. But if we're able to really see them and use them for their ultimate purpose, then life finds a greater balance. You know, I can only talk for myself in that, you know, the most present moments that I experience sometimes are completely still, and sometimes my mind is completely quiet. But sometimes I just feel like, man, this life is here to be lived. And the more present and alive that I feel, the more I can almost pull these future visions towards me. But there has to be some kind of foresight. And I do wonder if the more present we are, the more clarity of mind that we have, we almost tap into this timeline of potential that we have to really make a difference, or just to live a life that feels really aligned with ourselves. But we always have to anchor in to a future moment in order to move towards that moment. The process is natural. The idea of being in the moment or being in flow implies that there is some kind of universal flow to your life. So perhaps being present is the thing that allows us to enter that flow and just go with the current and to be led. But through that, the way that presents itself in your consciousness is future visualization, or even just the feeling of excitement or inspiration when moving towards a destination that's not yet arrived.